The CDC says it is official. No masks necessary for vaccinated Americans in most settings. And that led MSNBC host Rachel Maddow to admit an inconvenient progressive truth about the newest new normal.
I feel like I'm going to have to rewire myself so that when I see somebody out in the world who's not wearing a mask, I don't instantly think you are a threat or you are selfish or you are a COVID denier and you definitely haven't been vaccinated. I mean, we're going to have to rewire the way that we look at each other.
So let's talk about the science and or the politics behind the latest mask guidance with former Biden campaign surrogate Kevin Walling and hate crime hoax and author Professor Wilfred Reilly. Great to have you both with us.
Hey, Shannon, good to be with you.
Good to be here.
Okay, so I want to read a tweet from novelist Walter Kern, and it comes off of what Ms. Maddow said there. Says, as the masks go away, a lot of Americans are going to miss the ability to classify, shame, and despise one another at first sight. Wilfred, what do you make of it?
Well, one thing I will say here, I do find the pseudo-religious significance that the non-N95 mask took on to be a little bit bizarre. I mean, that was originally proposed as one of many, many NPIs we should engage in to reduce the risk of COVID. In fact, originally, of course, the CDC suggested that non-healthcare working civilians not wear masks at all. But at any rate, I don't think this new decree, which is a good move, is going to end the COVID culture war. I think we're going to move now to what individual states will do, what employers will do, vaccinations for kids, etc. I would bet that in a lot of large blue cities, no one takes off their mask for several weeks, in fact.
Yeah, that may be the case, Kevin. I mean, of course, the memes spring to life for everything on a very quick basis these days. But the meme yesterday that had people saying, press a button, either I'm not wearing a mask because I'm fully vaccinated and want to brag about it, or I'm not wearing a mask because I'm a COVID denier. I can't virtue signal if I'm not wearing my mask. Where do we go from here? Because I think some people have gotten used to judging whether you have a mask on or don't have a mask on. They're making judgments about you and your decision.
Yeah, Shannon, I think you're absolutely right. You know, I live in Washington, D.C. Masks certainly were politicized on the streets of Washington. I would tell you that it was a welcomed announcement out of the administration yesterday. I went out to an outdoor restaurant. There were no masks to be found, a lot of smiling faces. So May 13th is going to be a really great day, I think, in the history of this country. And I think, you know, the message coming out of the Biden administration is either get vaccinated, get vaxxed, or wear your mask. And I think they made a decision, the CDC made the decision that with so much hesitancy around the vaccine, that we needed to really give people, the American people, a boost and a reason to get vaccinated so that they can return to everyday life. And dropping that mask, because it has been so politicized, is a really good reason to go get vaccinated for the rest of the folks that haven't gotten that shot yet.
But it quickly launched us into the next part of this conversation in, are we going to have vaccine passports? Are people going to ask to see your card? In a Washington Post opinion piece, Dr. Leanna Wen said this. She says this announcement would be very welcome if not for one big problem. There is no concurrent requirement for proof of vaccination. And Wilfred, she's been one of the ones out there saying we should not make life easy on people who've chosen not to get vaccinated. Kind of there needs to be this cultural shame around them. We should not let them return to normal life. And now she's saying, well, OK, until we can verify it, this really isn't that great of an idea. What do you make of it?
Well, I am an advocate of vaccination, actually. I think it's to some extent a global miracle that these vaccines were rushed out under both of the most recent administrations within a year. The efficacy rate, something like 94%. But I will say, I don't actually think, given racial tensions and other things going on in the country, if we're being realistic, that people in large cities are going to be running up to one another demanding vaccine passports. I think the tacit understanding here, there's a lot going on in the world. I do think the Biden administration wanted to win, but the idea is we vaccinated most seniors, most of the most vulnerable, and now there is a step back to normalcy. I don't think people are going to come up to you in Whole Foods and ask to see your papers most of the time.
I got to tell you, I know someone who went to Whole Foods today without a mask and was not asked to leave or to put one on, which I found very surprising if you spend any time inside Whole Foods. OK, so that being said, we're told that Walmart, Costco, and a number of other Trader Joe's, I think, a number of retailers are saying, like, okay, we're going to do this sort of on the honor system, or at least we're going to follow this. If you're fully vaccinated, you can come into our stores without a mask. But Washington Post piece says this: unvaccinated shoppers and employees should continue wearing masks, the company said, though it didn't offer any details on how it would confirm whether customers have been inoculated. So, Kevin, where do you think we go from there? Wilfred said, I don't think people are going to be running up asking for your card, but if you're going into a private business, are we going to get to that place where they say, we're a private business and we decide who comes and goes, and I'm going to need to see some evidence that you actually are fully vaccinated before you can come in here without a mask?
Yeah, Shannon, it's a really good question. And, I look to you actually as a legal expert in terms of, what the line is with what, consumers and what businesses can do with regards to public health and regulating who comes in their stores and what have you. I think a lot of businesses, as you pointed out, Trader Joe's, Walmart, others are kind of sifting through this CDC guidance, along as, what Professor Reilly said, states as well, too. Blue and red states are figuring out how to apply the CDC guidance. So you saw Virginia become fully compliant with what the CDC said yesterday in its public announcement, and New Jersey's kind of lagging behind and still keeping those mask mandates. So I think the terrain is still getting kind of evened out in terms of how this is all going to play out in the next couple of days and weeks and into the summer.
Yeah, I think governments are going to be very hesitant to try to move forward with anything akin to a vaccine passport, knowing that legal challenge is going to be much different than the one coming from private businesses and employers. But all the lawsuits are coming, and we know that. That's what keeps us lawyers employed and busy.
And we're going to look to you as the expert on that, too, Shannon.
Yeah. We're going to be discussing that quite a bit because it is coming. Kevin, Wilfred, both have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
You also.
Thank you, Shannon. Have a good weekend.
South Carolina private schools being blocked from federal COVID relief funds meant to help students. Is it legal? We got a couple legal eagles next.